Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. So my name is Nick, and I'm with the YARD program. The objectives of YARD, let me see if I can use this thing here. The objectives of the program is that it's a gang reduction strategy, gang prevention, intervention, reentry program geared towards youth at risk between the ages of 12 and 24. One of the big things that we try to highlight as well is it's not only is necessarily just for youth who are in gangs, but a lot of at-risk and high-risk youth as well. It's really to increase the collaborative between community agencies and organizations for the purpose of reducing youth at-risk, high-risk involvement within the city of Hamilton. Understanding the risk factors and outreach. So as one of the outreach workers with the program, I have to kind of understand the environment of the communities that I'm in. I have to understand all the different levels of risk, such as the dynamics in the home, dynamics in the school, associates that they have, rivals, and this is important as an outreach worker because a lot of these dynamics really could pose a real big problem when we refer them to the program and you get two guys who are in rival gangs sitting in front of you. So that's one of the areas of risk factors that we like to highlight as they're coming into the program. Areas of risk and what that looks like, Marvin's gonna touch on that a little bit, and then we'll get into some case studies.
That's the green. Hello, everyone. I'm Marvin, as previously stated. So areas of risk that we look for. So as I stated there, the wireless, the previous group mentioned the wireless, which is the youth level of service inventory, case management inventory. We also use the LSI level of service inventory for someone who is probably 18 to 24. So our program deals with youth who are 12 to 24, so that's on the wavelength. So for our youth, some of the stuff that we look for are prior and current offenses. So has this person been in contact with the law before? Is there a current court case going on and stuff like that? What's their family circumstances like? Is there parents in the home? Are there a single parent family? Are there lack of parenting in the home? Educational status? Are they are they at the age where they should be in school and not attending? In terms of employment, are they employable at the age where they can be employed and they're not currently seeking employment? Who are they hanging out with? Their peer relations. Is substance abuse a problem? Leisure, are they using their time wisely? And so these are some of the stuff that we look for on the wireless when we're looking for with which group they're going to be paired with. As in, we have a prevention intervention group. Gillian?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about a case study that a young man that was referred to us. So this is Sam. Sam was referred to us by his school. He's in high school, he was 16, and the reasons for his referral were because he was involved in fights a lot. There was a possible expulsion from the school, from the school board, and he was very angry and aggressive. Sam was facing some possible charges, and he had issues with his family. His father had recently passed, and his next role model, his grandfather, passed the next year. He was having issues with his mom, not getting along very well with his mom. He comes from a mixed race family, so Sam didn't really identify with his white side. So he didn't understand what mom was saying. His role models weren't there. So Sam moved into with his grandmother, and he was going through a lot of grief, which was not dealt with. So he was very aggressive and fighting a lot and doing some of the things. So as we go on through our discussion today, we'll kind of touch base and see what happened with Sam throughout the program.
Okay, so motivation to change. Oh, sorry. So based on the motivation to change, when we do our intake with these individuals, these are some of the questions that's there. So as you see, a lot of them says, you know what, there's a lot that I want to change. And a lot of times the program is voluntary, so these individuals are coming to us and saying that, you know what, I want to make changes to my current situations. Sometimes the numbers differ there. As you can see, not everyone wanted to change. Sometimes that voluntary piece came from the parents saying that it's voluntary, but I'm making you do this program. So that's when we get that from parents, you know what, parents say you have to do the program, we're going to sign you up. So that's where you get the difference in the numbers, where a lot of people say, you know what, there's a lot that I want to change, and then some people are not so sure, but they're doing this program that's voluntary. A lot of people say, you know what, I think the program will make changes. They have gotten a lot of feedback from friends and family who probably have gone through teachers who recommend the program, so this is where we'd get these stats from. Thank you.
Okay, we have some stats. To date, we've had like 854 referrals. Of those referrals, we've had 505 intakes. And we broke down the intakes. We have 68% of the youth are male, 31% are female, and we have one actually who did not identify as any. As Marvin mentioned, our program is a prevention, intervention, and reentry. So prevention being a lower risk based on the YLS. Intervention is a higher risk young person that we deal with, and reentry is all the young people who've been in custody and are out back into society. So 290% of the 446 young people were prevention, 109 were intervention, and 47 are reentry. The number of young people accepted into the program was the 446. Some were not accepted because, as you can see at the bottom, the referrals may be new. Maybe some had moved out of the city, and we only serve Hamilton, Burlington, and areas. So if they move into like St. Catharines, for example, we're not able to serve them, as we're not able to pick them up, or they can't attend the programming. Or that young people are not interested at all in programming because it's a voluntary program, so we don't force them as much as possible. And if they're in custody, then they probably won't be in the program. The majority of the things that you see in the stats here is also some of the risk that Nick had spoken about earlier, was that there's a history of substance abuse. As you can see, it's 78% of the young people that we deal with have some kind of substance abuse problems. A majority also have had police contact, 78%. 47% are gang involved, although they don't like to say they're gang involved, but they are. And many of them, 83%, have previous altercations or fights. And it correlates with like suspensions. We have 78% of the young people also are suspended from school. The next slide is about our age and the grade levels that it's achieved. As you can see, the highest grade level, that's based 14 to 18, it's highlighted in red. Those are the young people that we serve. And then we know that this is because of adolescence, they're growing up, right? So the young people are changing. They've gone into high school, so they've got new peer groups. As they're growing, they're trying to exert their, their own self in families and in the community. And they just take bigger risks. So we found that that's the majority of the young people that we serve. And usually basically between grade 9 and grade 10, we have 100 young people, 22 to 25% of the young people that we serve. Marvin will talk a little bit about the programming that we do with the young people during their time with us.
Thank you. So basically what program looks like is that Monday through Thursday, we have a group that's been held maybe at our office or our separate location. We have a prevention group probably on a Monday, intervention on a Tuesday, and vice versa. So it goes through those 4 days. Group is normally after school, so it's probably about from 4 to say 6:45, and this is that kids are picked up for programming and come to the office, do the group. There's also a recreational piece that is attached to the program. As you can see in the photo there, they're doing boxing. That's probably the boxing week. There's different weeks that we may do other stuff like rock climbing. You can see in some of the cooking, bowling. So these individuals will get the opportunity to learn to cook, and most times go home and teach mom and dad how to do these different dishes that we have done. There's also case management that is done, which is the one-on-one piece that is done with a individual caseworker with the clients. So they may have like different situations that they are dealing with. Sometimes trying to get like a national ID or getting connected with like anterior works and stuff like that, needing school support, court support, whatever the needs may, housing sometimes, then we are that person that will try to help them during that one-on-one piece. That is done on a weekly basis. Yes, that's pretty much it. So yeah, as we mentioned before, what prevention basically target the medium risk, which is that's a 12 weeks program, and that goes from that's 12 weeks of cognitive-based programming, and we also have an extra 12 weeks with a volunteer mentor. For intervention, we double the dosage of the prevention, so that's 24 weeks of cognitive-based programming, and the extra 24 weeks with a volunteer mentor. So basically, the mentor is just there to provide that extra push or extra support that they may need after they are finished up the actual program. The reentry is basically the same as the intervention, as Gillian mentioned before. That's just an individual who has been in custody for probably about 2 weeks. They come back to us, so that would be a reentry stat. Thanks.
So we'll go back to Sam. Sam completed an intake in March of 2016, and he initially scored prevention. He met with a youth worker and initially wasn't engaged. I think there was probably not a good fit with his youth worker. And one thing that we do is we try as best as possible to associate or to connect young people with youth workers that they're able to connect with, right? So if there's not a good fit with a specific youth worker, then we'll try somebody else or we try something new. So Sam attended and completed Prevention Week. From the previous slide, that's a 12-week program. He attended every single week. This is a young boy who did not want to go to school, who was not doing well. He was getting involved with very fights. But when we found that we changed his youth worker, they connected, and he ended up coming. He didn't want to come to group, but he ended up coming every single week, and he did his programming and completed it. Once we're done programming, we always do a post-test to figure out what the young person, where his risk level has been, comparing from the beginning and the end. So when we did his post-test, we found out that there were some things that Sam had not exactly told us. We found that he was now more gang involved. He was actually expelled from the school. We knew that, but he was expelled from school, and he avoided some other information. But based on the post-test and the assessment, we found that his risk actually had ended up going much higher than he was before. So a discussion was had with Sam and his youth worker, and Sam agreed to continue with the program. He decided that he felt that he needed extra support. So Sam was now transferred from the prevention program, which he completed, and into intervention program. And that's another 12 weeks. Like Marvin said, double dosage of everything. And he attended every single week. He got more support because now he had some court charges that he had to deal with. Once all those charges were dealt with, he actually was incarcerated for a few months. And once he was in custody, his youth worker was visiting with him every single week to just continue the support. We're able and lucky enough to be able to do that within Hamilton. So we could go and visit them wherever necessary. We did programming with Sam. We just talked about things, just having that one person who trusts and believes him every single week, going there to visit him through it all, and through Christmas too. He was in custody, and that was a good thing for Sam. So when he was out of custody, when he came out, Sam decided that he wants to continue with Yard as a reentry young person, and he attended every single day. He said that he voiced that he needed more support, so we connected him with different agencies that can give him extra support that he needed. He wanted to be involved in other like sports activities and things like that in school, and to get re-engaged back in school. So Sam got support to go back to school. He attended an alt-ed program, and then he decided that school doesn't really work for him, so what he did, he wanted to get a job. Currently, Sam's working. He has a part-time job with Dofasco, and he loves it. He's still deciding whether he wants to go to school, but he has about 7 credits that he has to do. So there's a plan that's in place for him to pick it up if he wants to do it. And he completed a program in October of last year, but we're still in contact with Sam every single month. At least somebody touches base with him to see how he's doing.
So, risk reduction post data is the level of risk for each young person is scored at the beginning of the program and at the end of the program. 65 youth completed the post-test following program completion. The most important number up here is the 84% of youth have decreased their risk level between 1 to 18 points. Risk reduction 6-month follow-up. So after 6 months, we go and we follow up with the youth. 22 youth have completed a 6-month follow-up. As you're seeing some of the numbers there with the risk decrease, no change in risk, and slight increase, the most important question when asked is, how much would you like to change your current situation? And 87% shared yes. Retention, so as a retention worker as well, retention looks like any youth that's in the program that's starting to fall out the program, that start to maybe get back into some of the negative behaviors or negative situations that they might just naturally be in just through environment or family dynamics. My role is to reconnect with the youth or young adult and to see if they're still interested in the program, see how we can further support them with the program. A lot of times we run into, or myself with retention, is youth being incarcerated, so it's very hard to obviously re-engage back into a program if you're in jail, but yet we'll still go out and visit them, yet we'll still kind of show that we're still interested in them, and that when they're done, they still have the opportunity, as shared before, with re-entry side of the program. Sometimes with just home dynamics, mental health, substance abuse, sometimes, unfortunately, it's just very tough for them to re-engage back into the program at that time. Here's our website and contact if you would like to ever contact us. I think we're saving questions for after, or is there a time to take questions out? We're good with time, I guess. So is there any questions for us? I can't hear.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Sorry, sir, could you say that again? Yeah, that's the school liaison. So within the program, we don't have any police directly involved with the youth or the young adults. To answer your question,
I think that would make it a little bit. I think that would make it a little bit different. Like if we have police there, because a lot of these guys would think that, oh, you guys are snitch, you guys are working with the cops. So I think in terms of having cops as part of the program would create like some difference. Like Yard is basically a replica of Yard Calgary, which is done through their police services, but that's a difference with us. We haven't used the police as part of our program, because I think our numbers would be different if we did. Thanks.
Yes.
Does it work?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a two-part question. One is to follow the question that just came out. Do you get referrals from the police?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And do you get a lot of them?
A lot of referrals. We do get a lot of referrals. We actually work with the police liaisons in the schools.
Okay.
So we'll get referrals from there. We get referrals from probation. You know, we get referrals from the school board. So indirectly, you can say, yes, we do work with the police, but
Okay.
we'd never report back like information
Right.
to the police.
It's confidential.
Yes.
Right. And my other question is in regards to your gang exit program. Can you go into a little bit of detail as far as what really motivates them? How do you get them to come out of the gangs? Like, what do you do? What kind of work you do with them to encourage that?
Thank you. So a lot of times, change cannot happen without self-motivation. Sometimes, a lot of times, we see these kids, especially being a voluntary program, that they've seen enough. I work with in particular, kid right now, young man right now, who, when we referred him, or when he was being referred to the program at the age of 14, he had no reason to change a lot of his behaviors. After a few close friends of his being murdered, him seeing his own life spiraling, sister going into care, him being kicked out the house, he started to see his life, at a point where he can't live like this, and there needs to be some sort of change. So a lot of times I've found over the years with gang exit programs or gang exit youth, a good 99% of it is the youth or young adult wanting to change or having that willingness to change.
I think
Did
it's,
that get you?
funding.
The way my bank account set up,
So-
I'm not sure.
So the program was a 5-year initiative which started in September 24, 2013, and there's a few months left in completion. The program was funded through NCPC, which they don't refund the program. So we're kind of like in the closing aspects of the program, but at the same time trying to source funding where we could continue the program, because a lot of these individuals would fall through the cracks if we just kind of just walk away when the program finishes and says see you later. So we're in the process. Hopefully something comes through. Another. You could go. One more.
Okay, one more.
You could go ahead. No.
Sorry?
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I'm wondering if you use an assessment tool to determine whether a youth is gang involved or gang entrenched, and if so, what that assessment tool is, and also in terms of the programming material, is that developed in-house or is it drawn from another organization or from materials provided by a Ontario ministry? Thank you.
Okay, so we do use an assessment tool. We use the YLS, which is the Youth Level of Service Inventory, and for young people 12 to 17, and the LSI, the Level of Service Inventory for young people 18 to 24. But when we do an intake to get more information, we actually have questions on the intake that ask specifically, are you gang involved? Is any person in your family a gang involved? Are you affiliated with gangs? And the kind of thinking that the young people have towards gangs and relationships with gangs. And once they join the program, if we find, like, once they're meeting their youth worker, like midway, that they're giving more information, because initially doing an intake, nobody really wants to tell the truth. But doing, like once they've met and they get to develop the relationship with their youth worker, then they do tell more information. And we have found that young people, especially the ones in Hamilton that we deal with, will tell you, yes, I am gang involved, or yes, I have friends who are gang involved. They don't really hide it.
Just to add to that, because I think you asked if the tool was developed in-house. That was developed by, I think, Dr. Hogue and someone else. I can't remember the other name. But we were all staff were trained by Dr. Hogue to administer this.
Thank you so much.